Fantastic.
Thank
So,
you.
Hope, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy Supervisor Villanova.
Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage. Grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents.
Thank you. Okay, I understand, Town Attorney Noto, we have an issue with the first public law.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, there's a scheduled public hearing, local law number 1, 2011, on a proposed code of ethics. And Councilman Nyoris contacted me today and indicated that there is some discrepancies in the law that is proposed, that was noticed, and what he had proposed. And there are a couple of changes that need to be made. So we're going to have to renotice local law number 1, 2011 to conform to Councilman Nyoris' changes. So I'm going to ask that the board actually just adopt a resolution to notice and schedule the public hearing for the meeting on February 15th.
At 7:30 again?
7:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Guilford.
Aye.
Mendocino. Aye. Nyoris.
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes.
Corbin.
Yes.
I will give the town clerk the law with the changes.
Wonderful, thank you. We have a second public hearing tonight on Crawford Park Policy. Can I get a motion to reopen the meeting for a public meeting for the public law?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
Mendocino.
People that want to talk about the Crawford Park policy, any comments, questions from the public? This Crawford Park public policy. Please, yeah. Just state your name, obviously, and address for the record, please.
Carol Zelinsky, Friends of Crawford Park. We have reviewed these and have no major disagreement, but a general comment, which is the park and the mansion in particular are grossly overused. It's just mobbed, and as quickly as things are repaired in the mansion, it's painted, new wallpaper is up. Within a very short period of time, the paper is torn, the fresh paint is pulled off. I don't know what kind of supervision of groups is possible, but clearly at the moment people are pasting things to the wallpaper wherever. It looks kicked on, pulled on, torn on. There needs to be more accountability with renters, particularly children's groups. I understand that staffing is very short, but something needs to be done to protect the property. This is particularly true in the summer with the day camp, in which the plantings are trampled, things are torn, things are dirty, things are broken. Put in a new specimen tree, it's torn off in the middle. So there just needs to be less use and more supervision.
Well, can I ask you about that? Because we're going to keep the public hearing open, and Mr. Nowotnik and I had an opportunity to meet with some of the users in the park, and I want to make sure I have an opportunity to meet with all the users of the park before we make a final proposal. But one question now: how much is it overused, and how much is supervision? I guess if you see what I'm saying,
I find it impossible to separate those two.
Right.
I'm not there on a daily basis.
right?
But I know the effort it took to get the inside of the main floor rehabbed, and in no time it looked as if it had been gone over by the Goths and the Vandals. So.
I have to say these are tough decisions. I mean, in the sense that there's a lot of demand for the park, and to cancel the day camp. Attended a wonderful play there this weekend, that put on by the Council of the Arts. I appreciate what you're saying, and we're really here at the board looking to find the right balance. And so, certainly supervision's easier. I mean, we can certainly ratchet that up. In fact, in talking with the group, we talked about we're going to get some crossing guards involved at peak traffic hours, is one of the things we talked about. So if you have, any, I appreciate you, first of all, I appreciate you coming and taking the time to come tonight and share those views with us, because we really do take them to heart. And before we make a final decision, I'd love to meet with the Friends and tell you what we're hearing and where we're coming out and see what we can do to, try and find the right balance.
Well, I understand that the day camp is important, and no one would suggest that it isn't. I would question whether the numbers are beyond their ability to adequately supervise.
Right.
If you go there in the middle of the day in the summer, it's just a modified riot.
But it's not the day camp that's, ruining the wallpaper and putting things
No.
on the walls and stuff like that. That's something we really need to monitor. Our staff should be keeping an eye on that. We did put a lot of time and effort into redoing that. I myself being one of the people involved, so I really want to see that monitored better.
I think that's right, and I know you, Councilman Mendocino, really went out of your way to make that happen. And it's disappointing
And it was a
to
very
hear.
nice job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and disappointing to hear it's just been overrun so quickly. And that's why I was trying to get a sense of how much is supervision, how much is, wear and tear because of the, gross overuse or significant use. But let's see what we can do to talk to staff to certainly making sure they're doing a better job. Thanks so much
Thank
for your
you.
comments. Other comments from the public on this particular Crawford Park public policy and use? Okay, well, we're not, any other comments from the board? We're not going to make a definitive decision tonight. As I said, Mr. Nowotnik and myself met with some users of the park, and I thought it was a very good meeting and constructive exchange. And before we make a definitive policy, I wanted to encourage other groups out there that are using. We're going to be meeting with them as well. We'd like to meet with the Friends before we make a final decision. We'll do that. And some of the other users of the park. It's difficult trying to find the absolute right balance. We'll do our best to try and do that. I didn't know if there's any comments from the board.
I just wondered, we sent out a letter to different organizations. Did we get any feedback from them, or is that what you put into this?
Yeah, we sent this out to 65 user groups that are using Crawford Park and not paying. In other words, they're nonprofit
Right.
groups. That includes both villages, the village of Portchester, the village of Rybrook. That includes the school districts, the preschool districts, because we do get activity from Rhinebeck High School. Anything from Council of Community Services to Tamarack Power Foundation to Chamber of Commerce, the fire departments, et cetera. Any user that we had an address for that used the park multiple times. That was
Great, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we keep the public hearing open for Crawford Park and open it once again during the February regular meeting.
We're going to do it at 7:30.
Well,
Keep
no,
it
the
seven-
public hearing is 7:30.
That's what I'm saying, the public hearing at 7:30? Yeah.
No, the other one's at 7:30, so this one would be at 8.
Oh, 8 o'clock, okay. Perfect.
Second.
Okay.
Bill Clark.
Aye.
Mendocino. Naoris.
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes.
Garvin.
Yes. Any comments on the minutes from the last meeting? Can I get approval to approve? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Clark.
Aye.
Mendocino. Aye. Naoris.
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes.
Garvin.
Yes. Hope, would you give us a report?
Okay, town clerk's report for December 2010. $723.96, and for 2009, it was $829.69. Tax receivers report for December 2010. Deposit to the supervisor of the town of Rye, $8,769,629.79. Deposited to the treasurer of the village of Portchester, $8,523,215.72.
and deposited to treasurer of the Village of Rybrook, $74,492.33, a total of $17,367,337.74. And that's the report.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
And Crawford Park had a record revenue and activity year in 2010. What you have now is you have the grand total is on the last page. Total of 848 events. That's independent events there. Understand, Weight Watchers has 52 events because they're in there once a week, every Saturday morning. So, right away you begin to see the kind of thing we're having. What you really need to look at, and by the way, for the public, it was 110,620. The real problem here is when you look up on the top side, and you begin to see that we have 400 over 500 events. That are nonprofit events. Now, the number is skewed, and we're going to improve the reporting next year. We're going to give you a lot more specificity in the report, mainly because what we're seeing, for example, Portchester High School has track practice up there. The Council of the Arts just did a play, so they had probably 20 rehearsals in January. That kind of thing where we have uses that are multiple in scope because it's a regular type of thing that happens. But you do have things like the Scene Stealers are in there, I think, every Tuesday night. The Village Singers are in there every Tuesday night. And, any number of other nonprofits.
You're pulling together a list of nonprofits.
Yes,
right?
yes. Okay. So, anyway, that's the general reason why we're asking that the council consider increasing some of the pricing there, and you have so many other pieces of data that we've already given you.
I find it hard to believe that the ball field use went from 37 to 223. Or did we just not calculate the same last year?
Right. No. What had happened was that, for example, Rybrook Youth Soccer is up there from 3:45 to 5:30. That same day, starting at 5:30, give or take, is Portchester Youth Soccer comes on. In the past, we really weren't counting that effectively. We're now counting those as independent events. So they're happening one after the other.
That's a good question, though. But
yes, absolutely.
Councilwoman Mendocino's question is an excellent question. The question is, did we really go from 37 to 223, or are we just counting it differently?
We're counting it better.
Okay.
Yeah, we were overused last year as well.
I think another dynamic that this report shows is that the nonprofit events, which exceed 600, and the regular events, the paying events, which are approximately 240, it's the 240 that the funds that are generated by those events are really supplementing the upkeep and the reason why these non-for-profits can use the facility.
Well, truth be told, the nonprofits are actually crowding out paying customers. We're turning people away because we already have nonprofit events booked in certain spaces. Or, for example, and this is a very real experience we just had, the Council of the Arts is having rehearsals for its play, which is also being done in the mansion itself. Well, they have their scenery around, they have their lights, they have their props and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you can't have another event there because they are there rehearsing. And, they can't just literally strip everything out and then put it all back. So the contention is there, and the nonprofits are actually, frankly, forcing us to turn revenue away. And again, that's another.
I think we really need. We need a memo, as we talked about. The maybe Mr. Arcaro can
Yes.
help you with it. But I want to know who's using the park, how, when, and why. We need to get some sense of how it's changed. In other words, if the ratio is 600 nonprofit users, 200 paying users, and the 200 are generating all the revenue, the other question is, okay, well, at least we ought to be clear on, I think that the whole thesis of what we're trying to do is rationalize the policy and make it uniform. So at a minimum, we should fully understand what it is we're doing to whom and how. And if we want to, give all this away, we also need to view better understanding of how what we're doing compares with other communities. So the Village of Portchester and the Village of Rybrook, are they charging? I think in a number of instances, some of the villages charge the users, and then they use our fields for free. So we really need to rationalize the policy. But I think in order to understand the scope of what we're talking about, we need to, as maybe with Mr. Arcaro's help, put together a memorandum explaining all that.
Sure.
And the other thing I want to do, as I said, is to meet with the different user groups to understand the impact of the park. So we just heard that it's grossly overused. I think it's very fair to say we're getting a lot of usage, and the whole goal is to find some. Thank you, Mr. Nowotnik, for your report. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, are you contemplating we would have a vote at the next meeting?
I guess the thing is, I'm not ready to vote until I know the full impact, right? So I didn't know that there was a singing group that went in there every, whatever it is, Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know if you knew, and I don't want to go, and find out that we've set a policy and then they can't go there anymore because we're all of a sudden charging them. So I really wanted to, there's plays, there's rehearsals. We had a very interesting conversation with Rybrook Youth Soccer the other day, and just trying to understand the impact. We wanted to not have no usage of the fields beyond a certain date and before a certain date. That makes it awfully difficult for them to launch their program. And so I'd like to get to a vote. But I think it's important to better understand.
Especially maybe to get something before the spring when people start using it more.
Exactly.
Otherwise.
I think that's right. Maybe if we want, once we get them in, we can divide up the groups and share out some of the meetings and do it that way too. I mean, that may be.
We had last month that we had a lot of people came, so I thought everyone had spoken or had something to say.
I don't know. I know there's one local organization who's terribly concerned that all of a sudden they're going to have to start paying, I just want to make sure that everybody in the town community understands the policy, and I want to make sure that the policy we put in place is fair and uniform.
Is it possible to possibly split up this way we're doing this and maybe do one section and do our rate increases first and then go on to the usage part second? Because with the new year, I kind of thought we were going to institute from January new rates. That's usually... I'm perfectly happy to do it. I think that's one way to do it, Councilwoman Mendocino. I think it's a fair way to do it. I think the concern I have is it's fairly complex, right? So, for example, the Village of Portchester may subsidize one group and they use our for free, and then the Village of Rybrook may take in fees for a similar group, and they use our fields for free. So how do we treat the two villages in a fair fashion, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more complicated. And we can also separate it out into three sections. We can separate out rates, mansion use, field use. Might be easier to do it that way also.
Yeah, I think just realizing that if the goal is to make everyone happy, nothing
Right.
will ever be accomplished.
Exactly. Unfortunately.
Then we're nowhere.
It's just trying to find the right balance. I don't feel as I have a sufficient handle on it. I mean, and I don't know if the other board members do. I just don't have I don't really have look at, we have,
223 ball field events, 267 nonprofit